Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Dbacks Dispatch here with your trio of Brandon, Gabe, and Brett. Here, going to talk about another series win and another very close sweep. That is 2 Sundays in a row that we've had a chance to sweep, but the team just couldn't get it done, so that's a bummer. But before we get into the games, we got to talk about the new player that the Dbacks acquired on Thursday on their off day. Mike Hazen got the hot stove started early. Dbacks acquire AJ Puck from the Miami Marlins. And the only thing I can think of is when I saw it, I'm like, Brett's going to go, that's the wrong lefty.
Because I was like, did he not look at the depth chart? Did he just go, oh yeah, there's a Marlins lefty that's really good, and they was like, AJ Puck. He's like, yeah, that's the guy. But when you look at the stats, it made sense. He's
yes,
really solid option.
We did have to get rid of Davison De Los Santos, which I'm okay with because he wasn't going to be on this major league route. Like, his path was first base, and that's blocked by Christian Walker. And we want Christian Walker to sign here after his contract this season. So he was, and you got to sell them when they're high. He missed that opportunity with Joe Mantiply. He should have traded Joe Mantiply when he made the All-Star team. So that's not fun. But AJ Puck started the season as a starting pitcher. Did not go well for him at all. They then put him in the pen, and he's been dynamite ever since. Since he got moved, he has in 30 and a third innings, has a 2.08 ERA and a slash line of 159, 204, 252. So, Gabe, what are you expecting from AJ Puck, and what are your thoughts on getting rid of De Los Santos?
I don't think this is the last lefty we're going to get, and it shouldn't be. Just about last week, I think on Sunday, we talked about Mantiply already. Like, he can't be our option coming out of the bullpen when we're facing off against, Schwarber and Bryce Harper. When we have those two guys coming up, we can't have him be the main option out of the bullpen. So I'm glad that we got AJ Puck. We need another lefty. I think he can't be the last lefty we get, and he can't be the only one because, as we saw today, Mantiply, I feel like he started the snowball effect. We're going to get to Seawald as well, but I think Mantiply contributed to that snowball effect because he couldn't get it out. Same, I think even with the Cubs series, like, it's been quite a few times recently as well, in the last month or so, where he'll come out and instead of getting 3 outs, he either will get 1 out and then leave 2 men on, or he'll leave the bases loaded. He comes out of the game and they bail him out. So then you look at the ERA and you're like, oh, okay, this guy has like a 3 ERA. It's not too bad. But then, you just don't see the fact that he could have given up a grand slam if they left him in longer. It's just that, Kevin Ginkel bailed him out or J Mart bailed him out. Like, he's been bailed out over and over again. We shouldn't rely on Joe Mantiply. Like, I tweeted it out. He had one good season 2 years ago, and that's even an exaggeration. That's me being generous. He had half a good season 2 years ago.
He had a good 2 months because, starting June that year, he just went down.
Especially after the All-Star break. As soon as he let in that first walk, he kind of just had like a 3 ERA. Like, he was very, very normal, very basic. And I think he just has been coasting off of that. Like, I think we have to move on from him because he's not getting it done now. He barely got it done last year. So I'm looking more Mantiply at this point. Like, we got to get Scott or whoever else from the Angels. Like, we got to pay the price. Like, and concerning the question, concerning the question about Davison. I'm a big Davison fan. We are all big Davison De Los Santos fans. We all want him to be at least some sort of part of this group for the future because a lot of potential. He has 30 home runs in the minor leagues. Like, he seems, at least from the outside, to be an amazing prospect. The issue with him, strikes out a lot. He has a 25% strikeout rate in AAA. He has a 40% swing rate. And worst of all, and those are things you can fix. You can eventually fix it. There's a lot of guys who have those sort of issues. With enough work, you're able to fix it, especially because he's only 21. the main issue and red flag I feel for me, why he didn't get called up this year is something that was in a Sports Illustrated article right after the trade was done, and I want to read off real quick from the quote. It says, "More importantly, however, the D-backs had reservations about his defense and perhaps even his willingness to focus on improvement in that area." Speaking with farm director Sean Larkin a couple of weeks ago, he said that Dos Santos has the tools to become a good defender, but he needs to do it, to put in the work. So it seems like whatever's going on down there in the minor leagues, like we've been talking about him, we want him up here, maybe try out third base, maybe try out first, like do something, like bring him up there just because of the offense. Because I guess when we're seeing this quote from Sean Larkin, he doesn't seem to want to play defense or even improve in that area, despite the fact that he's only 21. And maybe that's why, just because he's 21, he feels he can be, already great. But if his defense wasn't improving, he wasn't trying very hard, and we know how much this team prides itself on defense, and at times will prefer it over to offense, like we've seen with Perdomo and Alec and certain other guys. But I'm not going to say good riddance or anything, but it's definitely one of those things where I feel like the D-backs sold high on a prospect, and we got a good, controllable lefty for a long time, at least for the next couple of years. So at least in that area, they're a little bit more stable. But again, I want one more lefty at least, and also puck and close.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of like, I think they knew, like, the fact is he didn't want to improve his defense. So you got to sell high. And I think they got a good return in AJ Puck. I was very pleased with it because I knew how good he was out of the pen. He's young, he's got control. So I was very in favor of the trade because I knew De Los Santos was not going to be up anytime soon. So, Brett, what were your thoughts on getting the wrong left-handed pitcher from the Miami Marlins?
I mean, obviously, I was even on Twitter and in our group chat off the bat, just looking at the base stats. I was like, why are we giving up? Why are we selling high? If we're going to sell high on Davison, why are we selling him for not Tanner Scott? Obviously, you said I was thinking the wrong lefty. But then once even Jeff Passan put out the tweet and then looking at his stats, he's been really affected out of the bullpen this year, especially at like a 208 or at the 208 ERA in 30 innings. I will take that, especially from a lefty. Like Gabe said, this isn't. We've been, hoping on Mantiply on being our, solid lefty for the last year and a half, 2 years, and he's not gotten back to all-star form. The Saul Frank suspension kind of hurt us a little bit in our depth for the left-handed relief, where this is especially again, the fact that Puck is under control until next season and the year after, that alone, I feel like really made the deal to where it might not on paper look like an even trade. Again, you're giving up a guy with insane power potential. I said that in our short that we put out on Friday. He has a lot of power potential. I'm not saying it's going to be very unfortunate, but I think one of the positives to look at it is not only in Puck being here for, next year and beyond, is this, if anything, shows maybe to Christian Walker and his agent, like, hey man, we don't have a full solid option, like a full solid person to replace you.
We don't have a backup plan.
We're gonna respect your wishes and we're gonna let you go out there and enjoy free agency, get offers what you want, but we're gonna try to keep you here because we want you, we need you. And I think that's much more evident now that Davison's being traded. Maybe they're kind of going in the path of, what, we're gonna actually push hard to keep Walker here after this season. And I think giving up a guy who doesn't have a full defensive position, really etched in stone or even an idea figured out, and like Gabe read off of that SI article, it sounds like he just is there. He shows up like, hey man, I'm here to hit home runs. I don't really care about defense, which is understandable. I get that. There's nothing wrong fully with being that guy. But I feel like that's an attitude you gotta you can understand, and you can deal with a player when they're a veteran like Eugenio Suarez versus, and even he still has decent third baseman defensive abilities. DDLS is not that. He can hit home runs, but he does not have a position where he can field comfortably. And that's where, again, it sucks. But the fact that we can get a really effective lefty for I don't want to say glorified in a disrespectful manner, but a glorified DH and Andrew Pinter, where we have plenty of outfielders. To me, on like looking at it right now, this already just looks like the D-backs are taking the Marlins behind the shed again in another trade, just like they did with Zach Gallen and the Jazz Chisholm trade. Who Jazz Chisholm now is a Yankee, so that trade is already just an automatic dub for us.
Officially, we won that trade as soon as Jazz
100%.
was for a
And
while.
Like I think this trade could, especially with the length that we get from Puck, could turn out to where in a year from now, yes, Davis and De Los Santos could hit 30, 40 home runs for the Marlins and another team if they trade him. I'm not doubting that. But I think what Puck offers and what we get from him is more beneficial than the potential of what DDLS would have gotten and would have given to this Major League roster.
I saw a lot of people on Twitter say, "Oh, it's basically Jake Diekman," and I'm like, "No. Puck can throw some nasty.
Puck can fuck, man. Puck can fuck.
That is true."
Also, I just want to read off some stats really quick. So anybody at home, I'm going to show you some numbers right now from AAA. This guy hit 322, 397, and a 539 slugging for 936 OPS. Am I talking about Davis Dos Santos? No, I'm talking about Alec Thomas. This is Davis Dos Santos. 289, 238, 588. The only thing he beat Alec in is slugging. But overall, he from that count, he has a 916 OPS in AAA. Everyone is citing the 1,000+ OPS that he has in the minor leagues. That's AA and AAA combined. A lot of his stats right now are being carried by what he did on AA. He just had incredible numbers there. In AAA, he's been very, very good, and especially with the high scoring place like Reno, he's batting 289. Alec Thomas was batting 322 when he was brought up, with a almost 400 on base, and Davidson's right around 300. So make of that what you will. That's why I was okay with it, because especially in a place like Reno, like if you're not hitting, close to 330 and you're not having it well over 900 OPS in Reno as a prospect, you're usually not going to get called up. And especially with the way the offense is and everything, like he seems like he's not able to cut it, because we see him go to somewhere else. We saw him go to Cleveland, and he's struggling in Cleveland, and he didn't do anything there. He batted like 150. So he might be benefiting from our more high-powered offensive environment that we have in Amarillo and here in Reno. So
he did hit a home run in his first at bat for the Marlins AAA, which is at least a good sign for him, because again, we wish the best for him. But
yeah, exactly. Like I want him to do good. I want this trade to work out for both of us. Look at something like the Chapman trade that the Cubs did. They gave up Gleyber Torres. He was their future number one prospect in baseball, but they also won a World Series, and he helped them win a World Series. So that's why we have prospects. We can't be super stingy with them every single time. Like
you can't prospect everybody.
Yeah, we can't do that. And we also, what's the point of developing all these guys? We're just gonna be hoarding them the whole time. There's some teams that just hoard prospects, and then they don't make the trades that they need to, and then they just have like this perpetual cycle of competing but not competing, like Oakland, like Tampa. It's like you need to be able to trade these guys to get actual superstar players.
Great point.
So, to be honest, I'm not going to keep my eye on De Los Santos. He's gone. I wish him well, but I'm not going to be like that X. Oh, I got to check it. I don't care.
If he was a major leaguer, it's different. It's kind of like It's not the Goldie. It's not like one of those other guys where they actually made memories for this major league team. Again, like we've already said, we wish him the best. But it's one of those where he's in a different league or a different organization. He's not a MLBX. We don't need to be fully keeping like tabs on him every day of like, oh my gosh, DDLS hit a home run and this one day Puck blew an outing. That means we lost the trade. Like it's not like that.
So we should probably move on to Friday's game, which was started by Zach Gallen. We won 4-3. Gallen had a very, very rough first inning. And we're all like, this again. But he settled in, did very well, finished with 6 innings pitched, 3 runs, 5 hits. He did walk 3, so that walk's a little concerning of late. 6 Ks on 102 pitches. He did have 17 whiffs, and his fastball reached as high as 96. So, Gabe, you can choose either one. What did you like about this outing from Gallen, or what did you not like?
I guess they're both kind of one and the same because he struggled in the first 2 innings, and I think it was just the fact that he just had no command at all of his fastball, and that seems to be what gets him into trouble. Is just that in order for his curveball to work, that fastball needs to be on, and he's just kept missing inside over and over again, or outside, just not locating, leaving it straight down the middle. So that curveball was just getting either spit on or they would actually hit it. I guess the main issue with Gallen overall this season has been that he just hasn't had an elite pitch. And as great as the curveball has been, he hasn't been as elite as it was last year. And his changeup is not as elite as it was a couple years ago. And his fastball isn't electric either. It's like what makes things work for him is just the fact that he has 1 or 2 elite pitches going at a time. So he's able to get himself out of jams. He's able to work off of it. Like Clayton Kershaw, he has a normal, decent fastball. He has a 90-mile-per-hour fastball. But the reason why it works is because he throws a 90-mile-per-hour slider. That slider is disgusting, and he'll get guys swinging over it over and over again. You know it's coming. You're not going to be able to hit it unless, you're the Dbacks in the playoffs or something. But during the regular season, at least, you're not able to hit it. But he did settle in. He got through 6 innings. He gave this team a chance to win, which is what we've been saying we need, especially with the way the Royal Series went, where everyone was going 3 or 4 innings. Being able to set the stage for everybody, set the entire bullpen up for it to be Ginkel, Thompson, Sewald, like being able to go 6 innings, do the follow the script, go 3, 4, 5, and 3, 4, 5. Your 1, 2, 3 guys, I guess. In terms of the bullpen. So there's a lot of good in this outing, some bad, but hopefully this is a sign of better things to come.
Yeah. I was impressed that he was able to kind of right the ship because I was like, oh boy, we're going to fall behind early. Not good, but I was really impressed that he was able to get a quality start out of it. 6 innings, 3 runs, 6 Ks was nice. So Brett, what did you like and did not like about Gallen in this game?
I kind of I feel like Gabe just hit the nail on the head. There's plenty of positives, I feel like, and definitely some negatives. Obviously, the game started out with those first 2 innings were not good, and it was looking like, dude, July Gallen cannot end soon enough. Please just get us to August so he's a different person. But he did definitely settle down. I mean, even looking at just his stats on paper, 6 innings, 3 runs, 5 hits, 6 Ks, 17 whiffs. If you just show me that, I'd be like, damn, like Zach Gallen, he was dealing that day. It wouldn't look like it on the eye test. So I think that's one of those where I agree with Gabe. It doesn't feel like he has his confidence fully back yet. I know we talked about it on the last pod a little bit and all that. It seems he's just nibbling too much. He's trying to, I think he's expecting these hitters to know, like, oh, they're gonna swing at my dirty changeup like right below the knees. But as Gabe said, it's still good. It's still a good pitch. Same with this curveball. It just hasn't been to the same effectiveness, I feel like, as it has been in years past, to where because of that, he needs to be a little bit more aggressive, like we've seen from Fott. Fott, and even this year and last year, there's been times where his stuff is so nasty to where he's only relying on getting swing and miss on like outside of the zone, getting guys to chase his stuff, to where, don't get me wrong, that's a big part of his game, Fott's game, all that. But there's times where you gotta, challenge the hitters a little bit more than I feel like he has been. And I think that's where, when you don't have your command and you don't have the energy, or you don't have that, confidence with it, I think it definitely takes a little bit off of your pitches. Again, I know this is all a mental thing. There's no actual full stats to quantify this. I could be just, blowing smoke up everybody's ass here. It just seems like there's something mentally with Gallen that's not fully clicking yet. That's kind of affecting some of his pitches. But it was really good to see him still fight through it and make those next 3-4 innings really solid. I know he didn't complete 7, but him just going into 7 alone was really good to see, especially considering how the game started for him.
Yeah, like the way that it started, I'm like, oh boy, this isn't good. We need like I've said numerous times, we need him to be our ace, our true ace, if we want to go back to the World Series. He is one of the guys where we needed them to be at their top form. We still won the game, so that was good. Offense did really well in this game. Gabby continues to just go. Gabby, just keep going to right field. Like he has done that the last 2 months, and his offensive production has increased leaps and bounds. I don't know why the first month of the season he tried to pull everything, hit home runs, but I'm glad that he realized like he needs to go the other way. He's now batting about 250, which is really impressive. So moving on to game 2.
Oh, I'm sorry, we lost that trade though. We lost that trade.
Yeah, I don't care.
Dalton Varsho and the Blue Jays won that trade.
Yeah,
like a month ago. I'm sorry. I had to bring that up. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, no, they didn't. So moving on to game 2, we're going to talk about what happened before the game. The Hall of Fame the first ever Hall of Fame induction to the Dbacks Hall of Fame. It's pretty obvious, probably the 2 best Dbacks of all time, in Randy Johnson and Luis Gonzalez. Congratulations. Yeah, Brett was at the game. Pretty neat shirt he got, which we may have in a giveaway. Stay tuned. I thought it was great. Like just hearing them both talk about that 2001 season, and I forgot that Randy won 4 straight Cy Youngs on a 4-year deal. Like, that's probably the most productive contract you will ever see. He won the top pitching award in every year of his contract. Like, he was dominant. And I didn't realize
he was genuinely, like, I think there's been multiple YouTube videos out about him now. You will not. It's really hard to find a better bang for your buck when it comes to that contract with what Randy Johnson provided.
So,
Oscar, calm down.
Yeah, I was about Oscar.
I know it's Arizona, but calm down there, buddy.
Yeah. So yeah, and I believe they said that the Hall of Fame is just for players. I was a little disappointed in that because I think Schulte should be next. But when they said players, I was like, okay, like I get it, but I think Schulte is so big to Valley sports fans, not just for Diamondbacks, because he's been doing radio in the Valley for such a long time. Brett, can you just kind of go over like some of the things that you enjoyed there, being there in attendance?
I mean, it was really cool just obviously hearing like Schulte being there, the master of the ceremonies, I guess is the term to put it, was really cool. It's always great to hear him anytime. It's just his voice just brings back good memories. But I think my favorite thing personally was just seeing the plaques. Like that was really what blew me away the most, is like the detail in the plaques. Like it's almost like they took the Hall of Fame ones and made it better. Like I saw those and I was like, man, that should be what the actual MLB Hall of Fame like plaque is. For Gonzo's, they had the one of him throwing his arms up in the air with, I think, the background of the entire team in the huddle, like surrounding him after the 0-1 walk-off. I think Randy Johnson, they might have made the one of him with his glove in the air after his 20 strikeout game. I just really love the detail, and even the videos they had. Randy Johnson having the Metallica was chef kiss. As a metal fan, I love the song choice. It was just a really, like, again, I was a little too young to fully experience, I imagine, what every, like, even you, Brandon, and possibly Gabe, just a lot of D-backs fans got to actually witness, seeing in person that run that Randy had in those 4 years, that Gonzo provided, with obviously on the board where it showed the franchise leader, he's number 1 in borderline every offensive stat in this career or in this franchise. It was just really cool kind of seeing that all in one, seeing the energy that it kind of brought into the fans, because I feel like that really carried into the game.
Yeah, it was great. Now we're gonna go over each of us the next two we want to see. I'm pretty sure one of mine we're all in agreement on, and that's Brandon Webb. I think Brandon Webb unanimous should be the next one. Now, who goes in with him? That one I feel we could all say differently. I know Oscar in the chat said Kurt Schilling, but we all know that's very unlikely because just
I could see them doing it just because he's denied the actual Hall of Fame one. They brought him back last year for the celebration. He's still pretty chill with the team. I could see that being I know it might be a controversial thing, but I fully could see the Diamondbacks making him a part of the Hall of Fame.
And I know a lot of people say, "Oh, how about Goldie? How about Marte?" They have to finish playing. Like that's the whole point of the Hall of Fame. Goldie and Marte will get in. I don't doubt it whatsoever. But my second pick, I'm gonna go Chris Young. CY.
Ooh,
that's my pick. So, Gabe, who are your two picks that you would pick for next season?
So I guess it would all depend on how things work out. Well, I mean, I want to address the comment first of all, AZ Bubba, that it was weird that they didn't ask Colangelo for anything. Why the hell was Ken Kendrick out there shaking their hands? Like, you weren't even the head guy during that run in 01. Like, you weren't a part of this, man. Get out of here. But
your name's a part of the school project, but you did zero work.
Yeah, I guess maybe he might have been a part owner at that time or something. But anyways, yeah, I don't know why the hell Kendrick was there. But I think this team will probably choose Brandon Webb next. Like Oscar is saying, I do think Schilling should be in there. The unfortunate thing is that Schilling is kind of a crazy person right now. Like, he drove a caravan through the desert and it broke down and he had to be rescued because he's an idiot. Like, I have a lot of disdain for Kurt Schilling, but I think if he's able to focus on baseball during the speech, just come out, talk about the good times he had, not focus on anything political, because he's, like I said, he's just kind of a crazy person. I'm sorry. Like, the amount of conspiracy theories that he throws out there and believes is just, I can't sign off on anything he says, and I can understand why the writers feel the way that they feel. Should be in the Hall of Fame, but given a guy whose viewpoints are, I'm going to say it, N-esque. I don't know if we're going to get banned for that. If I say the full word, but a certain Third Reich ideology, I'll say. Like I said, I can't sign off on anything he says. I would hope that they could just keep him to, we had a good time, we gave it 110%. We want, it was a long season, just give the canned answers, Schilling, and then we could put him in there. But I definitely think Brandon Webb, and I don't even know who else. I mean, Chris Young is an amazing one. The unfortunate thing is that he was good for about 2 or 3 years here. Maybe Upton. I'm thinking maybe Upton, just because when you're thinking about the best players on this team, Upton is still in a lot of those lists of top performances and RBIs, hits, home runs. He's still in a whole bunch of them. So we've had a lot of really good players, a lot of good guys here. Honestly, you could probably put mostly all of that 2001 team on there, just because a lot of them are great. Like, we love them here. Like, we want to see these guys. David, Mark Grace. Yeah. Like, there's a lot of guys that I feel like could go up there, but if they're holding it specifically to the greatest on the team, and the best pitcher on the team was Randy Johnson, the best offensive guy, Luis Gonzalez. If you look at the 2007 team, you have Brandon Webb and you have Justin Upton, or
that's another one.
Yeah, so there's a lot of guys that we can give, but those would be my main two. I think maybe Brandon Webb and Justin Upton, and then Goldie and stuff. And no, I'm not putting in Pollock, no matter what a certain beat writer says.
Oh my gosh. So Brett, who are your 2 picks?
I might be cheating because there's actually 3 I kind of have in mind. The first one for me, thank God you guys didn't mention it because I was actually like, I swear to God, if you guys steal it, Miguel Montero. Miguel Montero
Oh, Miggy,
is
yeah.
like one of the better, I feel like Dbacks in general, just of history.
He might be the best catcher in
probably the
franchise.
best. He is, if we're going off of WAR alone, because top 10 in Dbacks WAR history is Goldie at 39, Gonzo 30, Ketel Marte at 27. Ketel might pass Gonzo this year. Holy shit. Then we have AJ Glassbones Bitch Boy Pollock at 18, Stephen Finley at 18, Christian Walker at 15, Dave Peralta 15, CY 14, Justin Upton 13, and then Miguel Montero. So he is top 10 in franchise history when it comes to WAR in itself, and he is I think I agree, our best catcher in itself. Just overall, like Chris Snyder was, he's not terrible. I love Chris Snyder. I love what him and Brandon Webb did. But Miguel Montero was one of the, if not the best catcher that we've had in our franchise. And then the reason why I say 3 is because Brandon Webb is easily the choice. I feel like it's a no-brainer. Like he's already retired. What he did here in his short career, obviously
he works for the team too, so that's
he works
just
for the
like
team. It's right there.
Easy.
It's already set up. Like, it's super easy to do it with him. Also, again, he is number 2 in pitching WAR for the Diamondbacks, which it's really funny. Zach Gallen 16.6 and Zach Greinke at 16.5. It's crazy what numbers you see when your team's history is very, very young, which crazy is it's as old as me and I hate it. But other one, I don't know if he'd have as much of a like stat wise like numbers with it, but Orlando Hudson, dude, I love Huddy. I love O-Dog. He was the reason why I, in like the last like 3-4 years of Little League I played, I tried to become a switch hitter. Orlando Hudson, like I want to be a second baseman switch hitter because of Orlando Hudson. I loved him so much that when he left, my fandom stayed because again, Gonzo was already gone. It went from Huddy in that 07 season, kept on with him, and once he was gone and sadly went to the Dodgers, I attached to Kelly Johnson. I attached myself to there's one other second baseman I'm forgetting.
Aaron Hill.
Aaron Hill as well, but I think there was it wasn't Rodrigo Lopez. There was another one, but either way, I attached myself to all the second basemen, and they were still really good. Aaron Hill's great.
You still do, sir.
I still do, but I don't know, man. Something about what Huddy did as like. He was one of the first players I remember, and probably the only player other than Gonzo that became a Dodger. I know the Dodgers in like 2010 were different than the Dodgers are now, but he got a standing ovation in a time where D-backs fans really didn't fully pack out the ballpark. There wasn't that many diehard D-backs fans because the generation of D-backs fans were like myself, really young. We couldn't just go buy tickets to go to the ballpark. And I remember hearing on the radio him actually getting a full standing ovation. And I was like, that's sick. He's also still a part of the team. I know it's a longer shot with him, but I think he would definitely deserve, in my opinion, to be a name thrown out there. Along with, like Bubba said in the chat, Justin Upton. I know he didn't have the best end to his career here, but he was still really good. Chris Young is a really good option. There's a pretty good amount of choices I feel like they can go with.
Yeah, I think there's a good list.
Yeah, go ahead. I just want to with Miguel Montero. Like he was amazing when he played here. Like he has 2 contributions to this team that still resonate with the fans today, which is one, he got rid of Trevor Bauer. He's the one who sent him packing because he told the front office, "Hey, gotta get rid of this guy. This guy won't listen to any direction at all because Mickey would put down signs. He'd get constantly shaken off by Trevor Bauer." So good riddance for that. And also still to this day, even though we don't have the Taco Bell promotion anymore, which is a shame, order your tacos Miggy style. So
yeah,
great reference.
He's still a legend here. He's been gone for over 10 years, around 10 years, I should say. And everyone still talks about Miggy style.
Yeah.
And also I love Hudson.
The thing is, though, his most memorable moment as a major leaguer, it's not even with the Dbacks. The biggest clutch hit in probably Cubs playoff history which is good for him. Congratulations. And it's not like we hate the Cubs. They're not that big of a rival. Like,
My brother's a Cubs fan, and I don't get me wrong, I didn't cry, but I was pulling for the Cubs a little bit, and Miggy hitting that RBI definitely made me go, okay, I can be happy. Like I'll celebrate with them. I'll celebrate with Miggy, and it'll be our little. He won a ring.
Yeah. He was on a broadcast earlier this season for a Dbacks game. It was just so great to just listen to him, just talk about his time here. So that was really great. But yeah, I think Brandon Webb for sure will be one. The other one, I feel like there's a good list of 10 people that they could choose from. So I'm very curious if this is going to be a yearly thing, like every other, how are they going to do this?
Oscar has a great honestly, that is a better pick than I feel like Miguel Montero and anybody else. The lemonade guy, more than Miguel Montero, more than any other person. I don't want to speak for you two gentlemen, but when I go to a D-backs game, I'm more looking at or hearing out. If I hear the lemonade like grandma made, yummy good, come get it. It's like mentally, I'm like, I'm at Chase Field. Life's good, win or lose. I get to watch some baseball. That's a great pick, Oscar. 100%.
The nice thing about that is not just a D-backs legend. That is a Valley sports legend. If you've been to any Arizona sports over the last decade, you know who that man is. He's so great.
He's even at concerts. I've seen him at Cricket Pavilion for one of the metal shows I was at. I had one of those double takes. I'm sitting there walking around just about my shirt, and I hear lemonade like grandma made. I'm like, what the? Where am I?
Yeah.
What's happening?
So So let's go ahead and get into the game. Offense showed up in this game. Offense showed out. Jake McCarthy goes 5 for 5. First time, I think, what was it, since at home since 2019, I believe.
The scoreboard today said on the thing that the last person to do it was David Peralta in 21.
Okay, all right, that actually sounds right. But no, Jake's been killing. Jake's been on a absolute tear this season. We got 2022 second half Jake McCarthy back. Okay, let's see how bad you guys are going to hound me for this. Not just me, but the fan base. Jake continues to play very well offensively. Should Hazen float out the idea of Alec Thomas as a trade piece to improve the roster, aka get a long-term solution at third base, another starting bullpen, or like a true closer, because I don't think Martinez is ready. We have seen it just in the last week. He's not ready for these big high leverage situations. Or do we go after another starting pitcher that will cost less than Jordan Montgomery? So, Gabe, what are you completely against this idea, or would you like to see it depending on what the return is?
Sorry, I was muted. I don't know. I think this is probably going to be a franchise-defining move, no matter how you cut it, whether it's Jake versus Alec. Jake offensively is a lot better, but we also saw Jake on yesterday.
Saturday, that play.
That play that he misplayed, hit his glove, and so it caused a run to come in, especially with Brandon Fowler. Gurriel had already misplayed a ball that should be an error, in my opinion. It's clear an error. The run shouldn't count against Fott. But also with Jake, he had it in his glove, just didn't open it for some reason, and that's a play that we've seen over and over and over again that Alec makes. His offense, is obviously more. There's more to be desired. I just don't know. You need the vibes and you need Jake. And at a time, for a while, we felt like this team was going to be Jake, Alec, and Carroll. in the outfield. But getting Gurriel, made some issues there. I don't know. Like I truly don't know what the solution is because if you trade Alec, most teams have been asking for Alec. I don't know if maybe they see something in the swing that they can fix, that they feel, they can send a really good player for in exchange for Alec. And it seems like from everything I've heard and read, Alec is a lot higher on teams in terms of capital than Jake is. So as great as Jake has been recently and this year, it seems like teams would still rather have Alec, even though if you look at the, the reward and everything, you'd think, yeah, well, obviously Jake is the better player. But there's a certain, I guess, intangible when you're talking about shutdown defense with Alec. Put him literally anywhere in the league, he's gonna be shagging fly balls left and right. He's gonna drastically improve their defense because he is a top 5, if not top 3, center fielder in the league, not just in the NL, but in the league in terms of the defense. So if you get him to bat 250, you're talking about a guy who can probably put up a 4 or 5 WAR, same as Dalton Varsho. Like he's incredible. But with Jake, this could be a sell high move for this team because, like right now, you mentioned Brandon, we got second half 2022 Jake back. That's what you're referring him to. You're not saying this is the old Jake that we've been waiting for. This is 2022 second half. Why? Because he'll send down in 2022. He'll send down in 2023. He hasn't been consistent, and that's the main issue with Jake. He will have stretches where he'll be amazing, and then he'll have stretches where he'll be either average or look the same as Alec and Corbin have looked. But AZ Bill says we don't hit Gino. We asked him to be a 220 hitter with, hits 30 bombs, and that's who he is right now. So we're getting exactly what we want from Gino. But when it comes to Jake, maybe I think, when Hazen starts making phone calls tomorrow and Tuesday, both of them are probably going to be on top of the list, and we have to be okay with whatever move he makes because whatever it is, it's probably going to benefit both teams.
Yeah, like we just got to think of it long. Like if he feels that it improves the roster and gives them a chance to go back to the World Series, it's going to be something he will consider. So, Brett, same thing. Do you like the idea of floating it out with Alec, or is trading Alex like just a no-go for you?
I mean, it's going to be tough. We'll always have the emotional connection to last year's playoff, home run. Especially, he is one of the best defenders, if not the best center field defender in baseball. But and again, he's our young king. This is not coming off of anything disrespectful. I want him to turn around. I would prefer us not to trade him at all. I don't even ideally, I don't want that to even be a conversation. But with how Jake has been performing this year, I know it's been, like Gabe said, we saw him in one half. He was good, and then he was kind of like meh until he's like figured out this year. I feel just the offensive side alone with what we're getting, and obviously, again, defensively, you're still going to have those plays that he doesn't, Alec doesn't make. But even like today, again, I love Alec, but it's the chopping it down and pulling over to the right side of the infield is still a major issue. It's still something that it just, no matter what, like you said, Brandon, maybe there's something that other teams can fix in his swing, and it's something the D-backs can't. I know we probably have better luck fixing pitchers than we do hitters. So maybe that's something like, again, I want Tanner Scott. So maybe you hit up the Marlins and go, hey, you just lost Jazz Chisholm. Okay? You're not going to have your center fielder anymore. You got a deep-ass center field. Alec Thomas is under control for a while. You guys can try to fix his swing. I think he'd go really good with that lineup. I think he'd be really solid with, obviously they need a little more pop, but with them adding DDLS and then the Yankees prospect they got for Jazz, I think a trade of, maybe that along with somebody else. Again, I could be talked into it. It's not something I want to happen at all. Again, in general, it's for me, trading, I'm very like prospect hugging. I don't do as much because again, like if there's somebody like Jordan Lawler or whatnot, yes, I'll prospect hug because I like financially and like emotionally, I'm really into them. But actual guys on the major league roster, it's very different. Like I said before, Alec Thomas and what he did in the home or the playoffs last year and that home run that he provided for us, to me, and that along with the defense, and I know it's the emotional side of me talking. I'm not going to deny that at all. But that emotional side is me going, you can't get rid of that. You can't let him go. You can't like that Jake McCarthy or that O'Neal Cruz triple that Alec Thomas might have read the ball better, and I'm not doubting he would have, but that's a really tough play in general, and sometimes that's baseball. It happens. What Jake is doing, and I know it's small sample sizes, but we haven't seen Alec really provide the kind of offense that Jake has provided even in 2022 and now in this year, to where I don't think you can fully trade Jake without. I feel like trading Jake will be a bigger pill to swallow down the line than trading Alec Thomas. And again, that's not a disrespectful. I'm trying not to mean it as I don't like Alec Thomas. I still love Alec Thomas. But just because one guy was brought up and rated as a higher prospect does not mean that they're the better player. And what we're seeing right now currently is kind of showing that. Like Jake McCarthy, overall, I feel like has proven to be somewhat of a more consistent player, especially offensively, where Alec Thomas, I feel like there's times where we're kind of lucky to get something from him. And again, I mean that in the nicest way possible. I don't mean that in any mean way. I hate even saying it.
I do want to bring up the fact that we have had, a season without Alec Thomas, and that was this season. Without Alec Thomas, this team was 5 below 500. And since he came back, this team has won every series or has tied it. They've only had one tie. They won against the Dodgers, the Padres, tied against Atlanta. They won the Blue Jays series. They won the Cubs series. This series, the Twins won it before. The Nats, they've been, since Alec came back, they have been winning every single series or at least tying the series. So is it the offense or is it the glove as well? Or is it just the fact that Torrey now has more moves that he can play with and he doesn't have to stick certain guys out there who maybe at times shouldn't be out there and should be another guy? Like the fact that he can platoon Jake as much as he can now, like against lefties. Jake hits lefties very well this year, but he can also put in Carroll with righties. He can take him out. He can switch a lot of these guys. So I think in order for him to move either one of these guys, Hazen is going to have to get not necessarily a haul for them, but he's going to have to get a very high power reliever, something that you'll be like, it sucks, but we are now World Series contenders.
Tanner Scott, you like? I love.
No,
Alex,
so I'm going to stop you right there. Tanner Scott's on a 1-year deal. I would not trade Alec for
maybe not
a
Alec.
rental.
Maybe not Scott. Alec, but just bring me Tanner Scott in general, man. Like if you're talking about being, again, I know it's rough, but Alec and Jake are basically going to be under the same contract, I believe, and the same tenure. I know it's tough to give up the years, but bullpens win games. If you can have even some kind of offense to back it up, that's a benefit. I love Alec. I love him to death. I don't want him to be traded. But if we're talking, if the Tanner Scott package is you throw in Alec, again, I'm not even considering if it's just a couple prospects, not even considering the names of those. But if the trade hinders on Alec Thomas or no, I'm sorry, I'm taking that trade right now. I'm doing I hate to say it, but I'm doing it. That adding Tanner Scott to this bullpen makes this elite. We saw it, and we'll get to it in Game 3. We saw what happens, and I love Paul, but we're gonna have that conversation with it. Adding Tanner Scott to this bullpen, you're easily top 2, top 3 bullpens in the entire Major League Baseball.
I can't give what Alec does for a 3-month rental. I just can't do it. I get bullpens literally separate the elite teams from the okay teams, and in the playoffs, we saw it last year with us. Really, I can't do it for a guy that's going to be here for 3 months.
We lost last year because our bullpen wasn't elite in the World Series. That's why we lost.
No, we lost.
Okay, the offense also did not show up either.
No, we lost because we didn't have enough starting pitchers. We had two.
Okay, that's like the main reason. Yes, I will agree on that.
Did a starting pitcher lose Game 1 of the World Series?
No,
I don't remember it being a starting pitcher.
I think that was No, wait, that was Gallen who started Game 1.
And it was also more of, again, last year they didn't really have a third baseman or a true DH, so it kind of hurt them a little bit. Again, it's not fully on just them not having a starter. It's not fully on just Paul Sewald. But again, that's where I'm like, I don't know. We've seen this team just alone this stretch of 24 games. We could be 21-3 if not for the blown saves. And I know you can look at anything with the hindsight, and you can look at anything in the past numbers and with a grain of salt, all that. But I'm sorry, even after what we saw, and maybe it's time to transition to it, after what we saw in Game 3 with Paul Sewald, once again, not even throwing a meatball down the middle to Joey Bart. Like that one, I'll fully say Joey Bart just read it well, got a good swing on it, but still, it's getting to the point where, I'm sorry, you add Tanner Scott to that bullpen or even another elite reliever. We've seen some of them go off the market already. So some of the names are going. They're already off to where I'm like, there's not much else other than Tanner Scott. You give me Tanner Scott, this bullpen is insane. Like I feel like it had the same effect of getting Sewald last year. I know it sucks. I know Sewald's a guy. I know Torrey wants to ride with him. We talked about it in the group chat. It's not going to change. But I don't care. You give me 5 guys, Scott, Puck, Ginkel, Thompson, and then even Jamar on his good days. I'll take that all the time, every day. Slot Sewald into an 8th inning role. I think he'd do even better. Like, he's still a good reliever. I just think I don't know. You got to have the closer conversation at some point with the rate he's going.
Also, you can add Brian Nelson to that bullpen, and you're suddenly talking about the best bullpen going into the playoffs because you can get rid of Castro. You don't need to have him on this team if you have Brian Nelson, Tanner Scott, Puck, Sewald, Thompson, Ginko, and Martinez. You're talking about 6 guys who are either elite or borderline elite.
Yeah. So yeah, Sewald. So let's just get into it. Sewald blows another save. Had a battle with Rowdy Tellez, and Tellez wins it 105 off the bat. He then strikes out the next 2, and he faces. I just had it up. Hold up. Then he faces. Yeah, Joey Bart comes in. Joey Bart rips a double over Carroll's head. I don't know if Carroll. That's the one thing on Carroll. Like, his defense is not that great. Like, he takes a lot of bad. Like, if I could take the route running of Alec Thomas and give it to Corbin Carroll, Carroll would be like one of the best defensive outfielders because his speed. And I think that's why the team doesn't have a major issue with him defensively, because him and Jake, their speed makes up for a lot of the bad reads that they make there in the outfield. But Sewald, like, I've been done for a while. I just know how Torrey thinks. He's not going to move on from him.
We can't have one full season with a good closer, man.
Nope.
We're fucking cursed. This franchise is cursed. No matter what. Yeah. We'll have one, maybe, okay, not even that. Ever since JJ Putz and Valverde with their like one season each where they were genuinely insane 40+ saves, we have not had anything even close to that. Whether it be a full season.
Fernando Rodney was decent.
He got saves. He got saves. He filled up the stat book with saves. That's what I'll go with Fernando Rodney. I will not take any person saying that they were ever comfortable anytime and happy with Fernando Rodney closing out a game.
Yeah, I'm not.
But it was a different time for Dbacks baseball. So
Seawold has had an atrocious month of July. So hopefully later this week when we get to August, maybe the calendar turn helps Gallon and Seawald because his ERA is 6.5 in 13 and 2/3 innings, 18 hits, 10 earned, 16 Ks. And I didn't look it up, but I bet if we looked at most of the hits that he's given up, most of them are probably hard hit, so over 95 miles an hour. Like
I don't want to look that up for my mental health.
No, I'm like, I don't know if that's healthy for me because it's just gonna piss me off more and more. The thing is, they can't trade him because they will get nothing. Like he is so low right.
Find somebody to take his spot. He's still effective. He like Ginkel had his rough starts and all that. Just give me Tanner Scott, even Finnegan from the Nationals. I'll take Finnegan from the Nationals in Seawald's spot. Just let him refine or like figure out his confidence and figure out his shit out of the closer role. Because I'm sorry, we're fighting for a wild card. You can't continue to roll the dice when it comes to closing and saving games.
He throws 90 miles an hour. And the only reason he's been effective for so long is because he hides the ball. And I think National League bats are starting to see it and know where it is. I think that's why he struggled this month. It took a lot of these guys almost a full season of him pitching in the National League. And sometimes his sweeper, it lands right in the middle of the plate. And that's where he gets burned.
Can we name it the meter? Because it's just a fucking meatball when it doesn't do its job.
Yeah.
Like, good Lord, man. Even somebody in the crowd today behind me, my mom was like, if your put away pitch is a 90-mile-an-hour fastball, like, is really your closer?
The thing is, he has two pitches. His 90-mile-per-hour fastball and his sweeper. And they're not elite pitches. If you're going to be a closer, you got to have an elite pitch. Like, I know Justin Martinez will be our closer in the future. He's not there yet. We saw it in this game. He struggled in the 10th inning. It was not great. His command and control was all over the place here. It was ugly to watch, and it is frustrating because we are playing for a wild card. Like, had we won today, we would have been one of the 3 official wildcard spots because the Mets lost today, and so did the Padres. And we could not take it. We're right there still. We are right there. Like, it's not like we're the Cubs who traded for a good bat and is 6 games out. That one I don't understand. Like, I don't understand that trade.
When your friend takes over the fantasy football team like halfway through the league and tries to make a splash, like, I'm going to make the playoffs from here, boys.
And it's funny because all day it was, Dodgers and Yankees are fighting it out. Here come the Cubs. So yeah, Seawald. Gabe, the floor is yours to talk about Seawald.
I mean, we've talked about it throughout this whole season. Seawald last year, he came up and he was very, very good for this team, but because he was throwing 94-mile-per-hour fastballs, so throwing a fastball down the middle with the deception, with the angle, he could get away with it. And when he came out this year, even during that run where he had 11 games, I think, or whatever it was in a row, me and Brett broke down like, hey, like, this might be, a little bit of an anomaly. He might be, overperforming what he's doing here because a lot of the outs specifically were very hard hit. They were not, little soft bloopers to any of the infielders. It was a lot of 85 plus mile per hour outs that he was giving up, whether it was on the floor or in the air. He was giving up a lot of hard contact, and he was getting away with 90 mile per hour fastballs down the middle because, like you're saying, he hadn't faced National League players. The one time he faced a player that he had seen before was in the playoffs when Corey Seager hit the bomb off of him and they lost the first game of the World Series. The Rangers had seen Paul Sewald at that point. the rest of the league hadn't seen him really. The Phillies hadn't seen him, Dodgers hadn't seen him, and even the Brewers. None of them had really seen anything from Paul Sewald. So as soon as he faced off a team from his own division, he completely crumbled. He crumbled against Ohtani. Oh no, he struck out Ohtani, didn't he? The one guy he struck out was Ohtani. But we talked about his luck might run out at some point during the season because you can't keep doing that and get away with it every single time, especially not as a reliever. If he was a starting pitcher, like I mentioned, Kershaw, 90-mile-per-hour fastball works perfect against his 90-mile-per-hour slider. Same with Greinke, 89-mile-per-hour fastball works perfect against that changeup that came in at 89 because they move the same, but then they just completely move. They look the same, then they move completely differently. At the end. So I don't know. I don't know what to do about Paul Sewald. I truly don't, other than moving him out of the closing role, which I know Lovello isn't going to do. But put him out him the Justin Martinez or Bryce Jarvis role. Like, I don't know what to do with them. I think maybe we should look for a sort of closer by committee because we know Puck can close. We know Ginkel, as with the run that he's been going on, he can close as well. Although, do you want to lose these guys for the 7th and the 8th? Like maybe, I think we're at the point where we can't experiment as much anymore, unfortunately. But maybe after the trade deadline, most of these teams are going to be experimenting with bullpen arms, with guys up and down the lineup. So we might have about a week or two where we can experiment, see what works, what doesn't work. Because like I said, last year and the weeks before this, if it is 1-0, closing situation or save situation, do you trust Paul Sewald? And right now, I don't. We're in the playoffs, going against literally any team. 1-0. Do you trust Paul to come in and get the save? Because I don't.
Today's game was basically 1-0.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah. Right now, I don't trust it at all. But there's nothing we can do about it. Because Torrey's not going to move off. Torrey's not going to move off unless he's not on the roster. That's the one thing with Torrey. He's very loyal. So you literally have to take away his toy. Or else he's just going to keep going back to it. So.
I like that. You have to take away his toy.
I mean,
no, it makes sense. If you have the tool, you're going to keep using the tool that you have. You got to switch out the tool eventually,
So yeah, not fun. So if you guys want to talk a little bit, I'm working on some stuff that Brett asked me to do. So
I was going to have you load those in because my only thoughts about Paul Sewald, and like Gabe said, do you trust this man in a 1-0 game, not even 2-0 game? Do you trust this man when it comes down to we're fighting for the wild card spot and we have the Mets come to town? We got to have him lock down a save. We got the Padres in town. We got to lock down a save. Even this next week against the Nationals aren't fully out of the wild card race, and the Nationals could still be somewhat spoilers. Do you fully trust that dude from what we've seen, or once whenever Brandon does have it, we can even get to it later. Tanner Scott, his baseball reference, I know just looking at that is fucking disgusting. I know he still walks a bunch of guys. That can be a big concern and whatnot, but he has been elite for the Marlins and is, again, there's a big reason why we've talked about him for the last month. There's been a reason why like 7 teams are in on him, all contending. But then when you look at Paul Sewald's baseball reference, you kind of go, oh, yeah, wow. I know he's not like qualified, so that's why they don't fully show up in all the bars, but they're literally the complete opposite. Paul Sewald is not walking guys. Guess what? Because he's throwing 90-mile-an-hour meatballs down the dick of the plate. While Tanner Scott, yes, he's a little bit wild, but because he's actually got some, movement and effectiveness and some different, looks of all of his pitches, I don't know, man. I feel like I'm beating a dead horse. I don't know. You guys are probably tired of me saying his name. If I had a nickel for every time I've said Tanner Scott, I would have like almost enough to buy at least 1 or 2 Arizona iced teas. It's kind of insane at this point, but just bring me Tanner Scott, please, man. just make everybody's life so much easier. The offense, there's going to be days where they don't show up and they're going to go, like today where they put up 2 runs in the first 9 innings and just couldn't do anything and get anything going. And there's going to be days where they put up 16 up against somebody and they blow it out.
Because Mitch Keller balled out today. That
the umpire definitely had the money line on Mitch Keller and all that. So let's fully be honest.
We had some call, we got some, but yeah,
I don't know. Check that man's phone and DraftKings account either way, but I don't know. Still, I think it's just I don't know. I agree with Gabe. You can't trust him fully anymore. It's got to be a serious conversation that I feel like Torrey and Hazen have to be having. Like, I feel like today's game alone has to have Hazen going, fuck, okay, call the Marlins. What do they want? Like, what can we do? Call the Nationals. Who do they want for Finnegan? Like, what do we got to do to fix this issue?
So let's kind of move in. We're going to do a little trade deadline preview, as that is Tuesday. I believe it's 6 Eastern, so 3 Arizona time. So, yeah, I would love Tanner Scott. I think Tanner Scott, if you want to package Seawald in with whoever else you send over there for Tanner Scott, that would, because Tanner Scott has closing experience, but he's a rental. He's on a 1-year deal. So that's the only thing. Like, I don't want to give up anything major. So I don't want to give up Alec.
That's what scares me. The fact that we had to give up DDLS and Pinter for a guy with 3 years of control who's been a really solid lefty. I'm like, man, I know it might be better, at least because the fact that it's a rental, maybe the package won't be as steep. Maybe it'll be like a major league ready player or two.
Hazen is not going to give up a major piece for a 3-month rental. He's just like, it makes no sense. Like,
let's see. We talked about in the group chat, Lynn, Melendez, maybe like combo, throw in like maybe other. I lose. Was it? There's a shortstop for the Dbacks single A team that was reported being out of the lineup yesterday. That's been rising in the ranks a little bit from what I've seen. I could be okay with it if it's mostly just prospects and not like them giving up any major league like Diamondbacks piece.
You just for a rental doesn't make sense. So if we can get Tanner Scott, that's great. But my other pick though is Matt Moore from the Angels, another good lefty. He's better than Mantiply. So, and I think he does pretty well against both sides. So his splits are pretty good. I would like another offensive bat. I don't know if they're going to do it because Gino's been decent the last month. So I don't think they're going to make that move. I would love Luis Rengifo from the Angels, but from what I hear, a lot of teams are asking about him. Taylor Ward's been floated out there, but I don't think that makes sense. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, he's a good bat, but we are set at outfield. We have at least 5 if you include Rendell Grichuk. So, Gabe, any predictions for the trade deadline for the Diamondbacks?
It's probably the same thing. Just we need another lefty bullpen arm, or just an elite right-handed bullpen arm. The unfortunate thing is that we are in a seller's market this year. This is not a buyer's market. Like if we get one of these guys, we're gonna have to give up a lot for them, especially Scott. They're gonna have to give up a lot for him, and you don't even know. Like you said, it's a 1-year thing. It's not, like we have control over him for a while, and like we've mentioned earlier, if you have a chance, to be a World Series contending team, you take it. You trade away a guy to get into the World Series. The issue is right now, this team isn't even in the wild card yet. The move to get Tanner Scott is for a team like the Phillies, where they see all the pieces are working. All they need is maybe one more bullpen arm or one more starting pitcher. and that's it. Like that's all they would need to do, and you would see that team, and you're going to be like, okay, they're going to win the World Series. Right now, even with a Tanner Scott, um, I can't see this team being the number one team going into the World Series, because we would still have to face the Phillies. Like they have good pitching. We as of right now, we don't know what our pitching is. We don't know what Zach Gallen is. We don't know what Montgomery is. We don't know what Erod is. We don't know what Merrill Kelly is. Like we have a lot of question marks. So I know that when these guys come back, we're going to have an excess of starting pitching. But as of right now, maybe we might need it. We might need a legit starter, because half these guys haven't shown up, or whatever has shown up hasn't been all that great. So I would hope that they get at least one more bullpen arm. If they can't get Vlad Jr., then whatever, it is what it is. But I just want the trade deadline to come and for Hazen not to say, well, we acquired Eduardo Rodriguez and Merrill Kelly at the deadline. Like, I don't want to hear any of that bullcrap. I want to hear a big splash. I want this fan base to get behind this team the same way as, when we got Seawald, even though last year seemed like a little bit of a weird deadline. But as soon as we got Seawald, everybody started to get excited again. So that's what I want. I want this team to get energized, to get excited, to be ready for the stretch of these next 55 or so games that are left. Like, we got to win most of these series. We got to start sweeping again, and getting a good bullpen arm is going to help with sweeping.
So if they do want to get another starter, Jack Flaherty, because I think that'd be hilarious because of the freaking interaction he had with Gallen and Torrey. I think that would be really funny. And I don't think he costs a lot, though. Like, I feel like
he's a rental too.
So yeah, I don't think we'd have to give a lot for him. So Brett, we know you want Tanner Scott. Like that has been blatantly obvious for the last 2 or 3 weeks. Any others that you would like to see?
One of them that you definitely beat me to the punch on, Jack Flaherty. He'd be really solid. Just I agree with Gabe. I get we can hope on Monty or hope on Erod and Merrill to come back, but again, they're still going to be a little slow rolled. They're still, there's still going to be question marks where Jack Flaherty is got a 2.9 B WAR this year, 2.95 ERA, 18 games. He's been just genuinely really solid. He's got 133 strikeouts. He's very close to being, I think, second in his career in strikeout wise. I don't think he's going to break his 2019 number at 231, but he'd be a really interesting piece to look at for some addition to the bullpen or the rotation. But I mentioned him earlier. Kyle Finnegan, I think, would be a pretty solid addition to the pen for a righty as maybe just a replacement for Seawald. I still agree that I would like another lefty, but if we don't get Scott, if we do just ride with Mantiply and Lavolo still, goes with his boys, then I think Finnegan is pretty solid. He's got a 1.7 or 1.7 WAR this year, a 2.47 ERA for the Nationals. He was an all-star this year. I mean, again, his peripherals, everything looks pretty good. He's got 14 walks to 44 strikeouts this year. He's got a 1.60 ERA plus, 4.18 FIP. So the FIP obviously doesn't, look too good off of that, but I think he'd be a pretty interesting arm. I don't know exactly what the Nationals are going to be looking for him, but we will see him Monday night. There is a good chance, maybe we'll clip it now. Maybe we see Finnegan literally have a short trip to his new team and just do what the D-backs did a few 5 years ago when they traded somebody from the D-backs to the Dodgers, and they literally walked across the concourse into the other clubhouse and were like, "What's up, boys? I'm here." Woo! Maybe we'll see that from Finnegan. I think that would be a really good piece to add to the pen. I know that might mean even if we don't lose Seawald, maybe it means Jarvis, they option him. I know that would suck because he's been maybe not like a lights out piece, but he's been pretty solid, consistent this year. There are other names, even Castro. Maybe we don't get rid of Castro, but I feel like if we're going to be fighting for a wild card spot and we're going to be making a move for a bullpen piece, you got to cut somebody, and I think there's definitely room to make for a guy like Finnegan.
I mean, we all know who we want them to do if they get another bullpen arm, but they won't do it because for some reason they think Miguel Castro is good. But no, they'll probably option Jarvis because he has his options. So yeah, we'll see what this team looks like in 48 hours.
Yeah. Also, a thing to keep in mind is that taking a Puck, taking a Scott, taking a Finnegan, that means nobody else has them. We don't have to worry about the Dodgers taking them. We don't have to worry about the Phillies taking them. We don't have to worry about the Yankees. They're off the board, and then we have them. When we come to the playoffs time, we don't have to worry about like, oh god damn it, another elite reliever coming out of the bullpen for them. Like we're screwed, and that's the main thing this team has struggled against. They've struggled with relievers all year, and you don't want to give these playoff teams even more arms coming out of the bullpen. So if they're able to make the moves, get these guys off the board, it's going to be such a huge help, not just for on our side, but even when we face off these teams from their side.
Yeah. So if you're getting excited for the trade deadline, make sure to check us out Tuesday evening. We will be going live around 5:15 Arizona time to recap basically the trade deadline. Hopefully we'll be talking some more Dbacks trades. We will have one or two special guests from AZ Snake Pit. So make sure to go ahead and check us out on Tuesday. You're not going to want to miss that. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and check us out on Twitter. We will see everybody next time.
Yeah.